All right. Folks, in H2O apocalypse, the world is underwater. The ice caps have melted, and you're a surf punk pirate in this drowned world designed by my guest, Josh Yoder. Josh runs Crimson Adder Curiosities. There's a link to the Patreon below. You should go sign up, help support his killer work. But that's where he's responsible for designing this hydrorific world that's compatible with both Dungeon Crawl Classics and Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. As you can tell, I'm a fan. So wax your surfboard, grab a band, and try to hang with us as we ride the waves tonight on Games with Dave. Welcome to the show, Josh. I'm so glad we're finally getting to talk after like 2 months of when we were supposed to. So
yeah, dude. I mean, it's great to be on. It's great to get to hang with you and get to talk about everything and all things, honestly.
Yeah, I'm so stoked. This is like great. I mean, 10 weeks overdue. You were supposed to be my New Year's Day interview. That didn't happen because of life, and then life really took over, but we're finally here, and I've got to know the most important thing. How was Game Face Con?
Game Face Con was Game Face Con was amazing. Baltimore is such a great city. Being from Delaware, I live halfway between Baltimore and Philadelphia. So growing up, they were always like the hang cities, right? Like if I was either going to get in trouble in Baltimore, I was going to get in trouble in Philadelphia. Never in Wilmington, nah. Going there, it's there's so many memories already attached to going to Baltimore, and it was just such an awesome time. I mean, the Peabody Heights Brewery, such a cool place. Like walking in Friday night where everyone was getting set up, there's like a DJ playing, and there's all those arcade games going on in the back, and there's the pinball machines, and you just feel like you're someplace special. If I lived closer, I'd be there every day. And Game Face Con was just that in a con, which is really cool because it felt like you were at a local hangout, but also a convention. There's like a lot of punk rock attitude to it. Everyone was selling their zine, talking about things they loved and being creative. And what more could you ask for?
Dude, that sounds so badass. And I mean, that's what I love about the indie scene is like that punk rock vibe of like, and it really is like, you look at this and it is like the old punk rock zines from back in like the 80s. Stefan's on, he says H2O apocalypse. Sounds familiar. And it should, because I believe that fine young person was your editor, correct?
He was. I had an all-star team. I mean, I don't know what dark god that I sacrificed to get Stefan to edit it, and then Brian Shutter to do the layout. Skull Fungus has a dungeon in there they did. I mean, it was. I mean, and Karina, the art, the lady did most of the art. I saw her on Fiverr, and it's just perfect. Everything just kind of worked, and it's awesome. It's a dream come true. I mean, I'm such big fans of Stefan and Brian, and just seeing their names on my book, I'm still starstruck. I'm like, ah!
Yeah. And let's see. Stefan said it's a beautiful zine, and it really is. Brian killed it with the layout. Yeah. Like the fact that and we can kind of dig into this now if you want, but there are so many tables in this, and Brian did such a great job of not making you feel overwhelmed by tables. Yeah. Because there are some books that you open them up and there's so many tables, it's like, whoa. And this, it's just like kind of like the crew you got together with the Perfect Storm. This was like perfectly done with all of you guys. Like, I love this. The way this looks, the way it feels, and the colors, and everything about this is just killer, man.
Thank you.
And so, speaking of tables, how many are there in this zine? Because there are a lot. If you were to just kind of spitball from
I didn't count. Actually, I didn't count. Stefan might even know more than me. Maybe 10? I don't know.
That's it. No, there's more. There's got to be more than 10 in here.
Yeah, there's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely more than 10.
Bro, I just wrote. I was like, this needs a table, and this needs a table, and this needs a table. It's almost a solo game, almost, but not quite.
Oh, this is going to make me backpedal. So we already kind of warned ourselves we were going to kind of be all over the place tonight.
Yeah,
You brought up solo games, something I believe you said you did for the first time last week
I
was play a
did.
solo RPG.
Yeah.
And what did you play and how was the experience? I've actually never played a solo. Would you say play a solo?
I
If
would. I would expect. I would recommend it. It's something that I was always kind of, apprehensive to try because I was like, that's like time where I could be doing other things, but it filled the similar itch that I get when I write, and it really was creatively inspiring. Like it was funny. My wife was in Wisconsin for a work trip, and so I was kind of alone with the cats. And I'm in this Discord of local Philadelphia creators, and someone had posted Kalarath, which is this awesome sword and sorcery solo RPG and co-op RPG that has roots based in like Morkborg or Markborg, and I think that's how you say it. And the Black Hack and a bunch of other games he kind of put together to make this kind of work. And I was like, all right, wife's not here. I was like, I'm all alone. And so I went downstairs in my basement. I set up like a bunch of like flame lights and put on some ambient black metal. And I started on my lazy boy, with a notepad open, rolling dice. And the next thing I know, I'm like staring over top of my game table with like a map laid out. I've got a marker in my mouth. And I'm like, I better not die from this giant mantis. Like I'm like my heart pounding. I'm holding my cat like this. He's like, like we're gonna die, buddy. It was wild. It was wild where your mind goes. And it was unexpected. It's one of those things I came in at kind of like skeptical. It's like, I wanted to try this out, but like, how fun can it be? It was a lot of fun.
Nice. I will have to give it a whirl because I've got like a whole shelf virtually of just solo games that I've picked up and amassed more for creative inspiration, I guess you would say, or what a lot of my books are for. Because I'll be like, oh, that covers this. I've always wanted to write something like that. I might pull from that someday. So I'm going to buy that. And now I'm going to have to try one out and see if I get as into it as you did. And my cat will probably hide because she's going to be like, Dad will squeeze the crap out of me and my eyes will pop out.
Yeah.
So with H2O Apocalypse, where did the idea come from and how did it go from just the spark to 53 pages that are compatible with 2 systems? I mean, that's...
Yeah. So actually, the idea started about 20 years ago. My wife and I were young. We got our first apartment. It was crappy, really shitty. The water would go off sometimes. We'd never stay warm. We had to do our dishes in the bathtub. Like it was just, we were young, we were on our own. And, the water had died, right? Like it just had gone off. And it was one of those moments where, we had just moved out. And I thought to myself is, like I could make this a bad moment or I could kind of make it funny. And it was important to me to, especially in the early years when things weren't as great, to kind of put humor into things, just to keep life interesting. So I remember I come out of the shower, my hair is still soaked up from shampoo. And I look at my wife and my eyes close because there's shampoo drip in my eyes. And I go, "Arr!" And then she takes my head and then she makes a mohawk with my hair. And I go, what am I? Some kind of punk rock pirate? And then the whole night, like she's drying my hair off and we're laughing, we're talking. And then we start talking about this world together. And, it went through like tons of iterations of what it was going to be. Both of us were really into like illustration. Actually, as a younger man, I wanted to be a comic book artist. but I never stuck with it like I should have. So at one point there was gonna be something like that, and then it just kind of got shelved for a very long time. And fifth edition was 3.5 even was like not ever going to be the great. Dungeons and Dragons, I think in general just wasn't fit for it, and never was. So that's why I never really thought about putting it in that type of system. Part of me was thinking this could be an RPG, but the other RPGs I was playing were like at the time were like Exalted and Vampire the Masquerade and such, and Call of Cthulhu. I would say like the classic others, right?
Yep.
The Dungeons and Dragons. But this was like before the OSR, was a thing. It was like we're talking like 2009. So things went on, and then of course things started picking up. My first introduction to the OSR was finding Mark Borg, and then through that I was looking up other OSR games and I found Dungeon Crawl Classics through just being on OSR boards. And then I got really into it, and then the rest is history. And then, of course, it wasn't shortly after I started getting Dungeon Crawl Classics that I was thinking, like, what can I do with this game? And then through Dungeon Crawl Classics, I found Brian, who already had something with similar vibes that just called out to me. And that's kind of how the thought process of making it Neon Lords compatible went into play. I mean, there was always so much just of that like Saturday morning, slime-filled energy that just seemed like it melded with the idea. And I was kind of like playing around with it. And then Brian on the Discord, like last year, had posted, if Neon Lords happens anywhere but Neo-Terexia, where would it be? And then my immediate mind was, of course, Australia. A lot of the game while I was making it, I was listening to a lot of Australian punk bands at the time. The Chat, Amel and the Sniffers, the Skegs, those kind of bands. And I automatically, was thinking, well, that's a great place where it could go, like where Australia quote was. And in my mind, I call it the Sunken Land. So that's what happened.
Dude, that's crazy. Like,
yeah.
That makes me love this even more because of like the build up to it, of like that it sat there ruminating in your mind for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then you finally got to bring it to life. That is so freaking cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest difference between the two systems, really, in terms of gameplay, if there is anything, between Neon Lords and Dungeon Crawl, with H2O Apocalypse specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, Neon Lords has a lot of its own personality built into the system. As far as Dungeon Crawl Classics is almost setting agnostic. All of Neon Lords is the setting, right? Like,
right.
I think Brian built it from the ground up as the setting. So I think it would be hard to, I mean, you could do it, but I think it'd be hard to play H2O Apocalypse just as like a Neon Lord, just, as a campaign without adding some of the other really cool, flavorful stuff that Neon Lords has to offer as a setting itself.
Yep.
I wouldn't honestly do it. I would if I were to mix it, I would start off, there's one module. Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget what it is. But it's you start off in slime vats, and then then you see like you're turning into like a frog. Oh God, what's it called? I'm gonna think of it before I go to bed. But at the end of it, you end up.
I'll get this message at like midnight.
Right, I saw the chat. You end up on the water, and in my mind, that's kind of where you would start your H2O campaign from there.
Dude, I love this world, like just a flooded world. I mean,
thank you.
I know what one of the inspirations must be being Waterworld.
Yeah.
What were some of the other inspirations that you pulled from both film and literature for the setting?
Yeah, I mean, other big one was Tank Girl. I'm a huge Tank Girl fan. You know, my elevator pitch, it's Waterworld meets Tank Girl if Agent Orange did the soundtrack. So, you know, so these, thank you, Neil. The Lord himself.
What's up, Brian?
Yeah, what's up, man? So that was always a really big, a really big influence for me. I mean, another one, I think it kind of melds in there just a little bit. I love the Sprawl trilogy. William Gibson's The Sprawl trilogy is kind of always in the back of my head. So whenever I write something post-apocalyptic or a little cyberpunk, I think that always kind of works its way in.
Yep.
And then a lot of it has to do with music, honestly, like the skate punk, surf punk scene kind of just works its way into there. And you can find also glimpses of, Jurassic Park. It's a big one in there. And, 90s Marvel comics. You got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Street Sharks. A lot of that, I think opening up this book, you can find inspiration in.
Nice, dude. That's pretty badass. Like I've already said it once, I'm going to say it again, all over the place because of the way my brain's working tonight. As folks can see watching, Crimson Adder Curiosities. What can you tell folks about that, and maybe what you've got working there right now?
Yeah,
like what you got stewing on the oven.
So name came from pre-COVID. I'm a big Hellboy fan, and there's the group in Hellboy, the Order of the Osiris, the ones who found Ape Sapien. I was like, man, that's really cool. And I was like, no one ever like gets together and just like talks about weird occult shit anymore. So like I got a bunch of my boys together and we all got like, I'm a nerd. We all got like fezzes and stuff. And I was like, let's write weird, let's write weird tales and read them to each other. Right? Like let's inspire each other to write, weird fiction and then talk about it. Or find weird fiction and share it. To me, I was always inspired by like the friendships between like, H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard and Clark Ashton Smith. Like those guys were powerhouses, and I think one of the reasons they were such powerhouses because they all kind of played off of each other. Their writing, you would find riffs. You could find Lovecraftian monsters in Howard's worlds as well as Clark Ashton Smith's worlds. It's awesome to see that. So we started off that, and it kind of died down. Just life kind of found a way, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with the name. And then one day, I was talking to a bunch of people, about some stuff I was writing. Brian and Stefan among them, and we were all helping each other out. And one of the things I was talking to my wife about is my dad's a master of Tang Soo Do. So I grew up in a Tang Soo Do dojang. So the dojang is what's referred to in Korean. And one of the things I miss about martial arts is like the kinship or like I know it sounds kind of macho-y, but the fraternity of it, right? Like the pushing each other or the inspiring each other to like do better, to work towards something. And one day, I come down, I'm smiling, and I said, Danny, I was like, I think I found another dojang. And she's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I just got done talking to a bunch of dudes about stuff I was writing. They're all really inspiring to me. And they told me that, what I can work on and what I can do better. And like, and then I thought to it, it's like, I found another way to kind of have that Crimson Adder experience. It's just more worldly now. It's not the dudes who just live near me. It's all you dudes. It's dudes like you, and who I talk to online all the time about stuff I'm working on. It's, and it's an awesome community and experience. So, that's how the idea came into my head, and I'll make it like the company motto.
Dude, that is so rad.
No, thanks, man.
I love that.
And of course I had to make it Curiosities just to kind of make it a little weird. I think my wife wants to eventually start making dice again too. So I wanted something that her dice could fit into as well with that. So she makes like homemade dice. We've been working on like getting that going. So
nice. Well, I have an idea that I'll pitch that I want to run by you and see if your wife would be down for doing it after we get off of here tonight for some dice.
All right.
So It's an interesting. I'll pitch it. I'll pitch it to you now. It's weird, and people are gonna. And if she would be into it, she might not be.
Yeah.
My brother, as I'm sure you've picked up in other interviews, my brother was a big influence on me getting into gaming. What I liked, what I didn't
Mhm.
like, and when he passed away, I've always thought it would be the coolest thing to get dice made with his ashes intermingled in the ashes or in the
Yeah.
dice, so that whenever I'm rolling, I'm still playing with my brother.
Yeah. I love that.
And I think that would be the coolest thing. And I've approached 1,000,001 people about doing it. And so many
Yeah.
people. I've had like 2 people that have said yes that I've just spaced on and haven't done it. But most
Yeah.
people are like, oh, that's weird, man.
Well, look, you've said you've got a kid that lives down south, right? Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Next
In
time
Virginia.
you're passing back, man, we're right in the middle there. Maybe we can talk about it. I feel like
Nice.
that's a conversation better had in face. It's like, hey,
Yeah, you never know.
you know
It's one of
what I
those
mean?
weird things because now everybody watching can be like, Dave is a weird.
Nah, dude, I think that's a wonderful. Like I do. I think that's a really cool sentiment.
I think it would be a really cool tribute to him,
Yeah.
because he eternally gets to play games,
That's true.
and it's like, that's what more could you ask for, having been such a fanatical gamer like he was.
That's so cool.
So what do you find is, I guess you'd say the hardest thing about game design for you?
The hardest thing about game design. I mean, I think it all boils down to your ego, right? Like, I mean, anything I could say, it's like the spelling or the the what how to lay things out or how to deal with things. It all boils down to like conquering your that voice that tells you, you're not good enough, or as I like to call it, my shadow voice. The voice that's like, you can't do things. I think that's the hardest part. I think anyone has to deal with most creative endeavors is just kind of battling through it and then just getting it on the paper. And there are times where like I am just flowing, like I can just write, and then there are days where like, I'm like the only word is sword, and I'm like, all right, where do I go? And I think what's best for me when that happens is I just try to go for a long walk or kind of try to focus on something else, and then usually I find my way back to it. What I think what I tell myself is most important is like if I have an idea, just put it down. No matter what I'm doing, put it down, because even if it's not a fully fleshed out idea that day, it could be something later on or 20 years from when I put it
Yeah,
down.
I mean, yeah, look at H2O Apocalypse, man. I mean, and it's funny because I kind of do the same thing with the note taking. Like I've got steno books everywhere, and I'll come
Mhm.
across one that'll have one page that'll say like porcupine. And I'm like, what the hell why did I write porcupine down that day? Yeah, but it could result in me walking around for the next 3 hours coming up with like a cool porcupine based character for Humblewood or
Yeah.
something, or but it's the weirdest thing because I try to do the same thing of make notes, even if it's in my phone, because I'll open up, I have Evernote on my phone, and I'll open that up sometimes and find an old note from 2, 3 years ago about an idea for a game that I had. And I'm like, oh, dude, that might actually work. But I got stuff to print. So we'll get back to
Yeah.
it. But I get the same thing of that you called it the dark, the
The
dark voice?
shadow voice. Yeah,
Shadow
yeah.
voice.
The shadow
I
voice.
get
Yeah.
the same thing. I call it more of like imposter syndrome
Yeah.
with me because like I hit it with everything, even doing this. Like I told you going into tonight, I was super nervous
Mm-hmm.
for no reason at all, just because I haven't done this in what 2.5, 3 months now. And yeah, you just gotta, like you said, push through it and go and make the best of it.
Yeah, man.
And here we are having a fun conversation, and I'm not nervous anymore.
Good. Good. You shouldn't be. This is going great.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. So you put out, and I feel like a horrible human being for not remembering this. The name just left me. I had it written down, but I pulled my talking points down because they were flapping everywhere. You put out something new this week on the Patreon about rats, and I
Yeah.
am completely forgetting. What can you tell me about that without letting the non-patrons know too much?
I honestly don't mind. It's called City Rats.
All right.
If I were to give it a pitch, it is Mouse Ritter meets Thieves World. You're not playing the cute mice. You're not having little tea parties. You're shitty small rats that live in a sewer, and you're shanking your way to the top. Um, it's pretty much very inspired by some Lankmar games I had, and I wanted to have that feeling, but as small little creatures. And that kind of plays into some of the stories that those actual stories happen to have in them and such. Of course, this can be used in any system or any way you want to play it. And of course, there's some tables in there because I love tables.
Dude, tables are the best. Like,
They are.
they just get to the point at times where if there's too many of them, like a lot of people, you don't do it, which I think is great. Like, you've got full page tables, but there
Mhm.
are people that will do, like, at times 8 tables to a page or 6 tables on a page. And for a guy with like me, it's got ADHD topped with like dyslexia.
Mhm.
It's like looking at that sometimes and my brain just freezes. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it makes the noise that Jim Carrey says, "Do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" is what my brain will do, and I'm not going to do that over the air. But, and I love the way you've got them laid out in here, like just one to a page, and on occasion, like maybe 2 at
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
And, you know, but what would you say? I know you said you don't know how many tables you have in here. What was your favorite one to design, though, that pops right into your head that you're like, oh man, I love that table in that scene?
I love the punk band name. I love the
Nice.
band name table. I do. I'm one of those guys who does the annoying thing where if you like say something like sounds cool, like I'll be like, oh that's my trash thrash name, or I always it drives my wife nuts. That's my
Oh,
funk jazz band's name. Like I'll just say something like that. So making that table was absolutely fun for me.
and it's perfect because it's another it's a page where there were 2 tables because you got name this ship with it,
Hmm.
which is another fun little table. The old 10 ounce, I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
and the names that you can wind up with, like the lusty hangover or the lusty sound system. It's like,
I love the old 40 ounce. Like I love that one.
oh, it's 40 ounce. See, it is 40 ounce. I saw 10 ounce because of my glasses.
Oh,
You're probably like, what the hell is he talking about? 10
nah,
ounce.
man, I got it. I got
Thanks for the recovery there.
it.
So what is next for you? Not that if you're up for divulging it, I know your brain's always got to be going.
Yeah, I've got a lot. So next for H2 Apocalypse is my wife wrote a module that I play tested a lot now. I think we've done at least 6 play tests. So it's pretty ready. And we're gonna start getting that kind of booked out and paged out and all that stuff. It's called Barge of the Rat Queen. It is actually drag queens meet mutant rat kumite.
Nice.
So it should be awesome. And I think a lot of people are gonna have fun with it. In my opinion, honestly, I like the Mystery Science Theater based module in the back of the core book, but I think this one really, really captures the spirit we were going for, and I have a feeling people are really going to dig it. After that, I have a couple other stuff in the pipeline, lined up. Party at Steve's house. It's going to be a point crawl that you're in a party and you're kind of just going around trying to deliver pizza to a guy you can't find. So
Are you Steve?
yeah. Steve's not here, man. So it's based off of a Mummies album. So I'm excited about that one. And that one's gonna come. And we have a few other H2O Apocalypse stuff coming out. Also, in the meantime, I just put out City Rats, and that was just like for my patrons, and it's almost completely done. I actually had a wonderful patron named Chris, come to me today, who just was like, "Hey man, here's some stuff to fix this." And I think, again, great part about the community is I was able to take his feedback and then really just like make the book better, even and I was able to re-upload it to my patrons, which is really cool. So I'm really looking forward to now, after even those changes, I'm even more excited about it. And then I've got a fully written WHPA 13 module that should be coming out next month, called Mirth Mahalo, where you're investigating a murder mystery at a tiki bar, and you have to go and talk to the different barflies about how you think Tiki Tony died, and each one has their own reason why they think someone else did it, and of course there's going to be a lot of shenanigans to deal with that. Right now I woke up a couple of weeks ago, and I was really inspired to write my own system. So I'm working on my own system right now for my own world called Myco Drift, and that's also in playtest phase at this current juncture. I should be playtesting that for the next month. And then Myco Drift, it's kind of like Evangelion and Gundam meet mushrooms and giant spore like alien insects. So asteroid hits the Earth, spores go everywhere. They infect the insects and get all big, and they get all big and start walking around. And then scientists realize that if they put spores in certain teenagers who carry a certain gene, they can create this large Guyver-like exoskeleton to fight off these monsters. But while you're in these exoskeletons, you can talk to each other through something called the Myco Drift, which is kind of like the mycelial network meets like a internet drift space. And when people basically give up, because in the world the skeletons won't let you die. The exoskeletons won't let you die. So if you give up, your consciousness goes off into the Myco Drift, and then your exoskeleton just kind of wanders around the fungal wastes. And but you can still hear your friends that are trapped in the drift. So there'll be missions where you have to just go into the space and try to deal with your stuff.
Dude, I love that, because it's
thank you.
The Pacific Rim 3 that we never got, that we should get.
Yeah,
because they need to make a 3. I mean, come on, I can't think. Was that Universal?
I think it was.
Make part 3. Come on, do it.
I know.
I love that movie. The first one, at least, I love.
Same.
And the second one,
second one's all right. Yeah,
it's okay, but it's not that first one though. Oh, that is so good. So I'm trying to think of what else. Now, I 3D print. You 3D print as well, right?
Yeah.
Now, is it more just a hobby for you, or?
Yeah. So,
or do you
yeah. So let me see. Some of the lights we'll grab them here, especially if there's Kumite thing. But I'm a cybersecurity expert in my professional life. So I make a lot of hacking tools and stuff. I don't know if you see this is a cyber deck. If I work with my computer stuff, it's gonna mess it up. But I make computers out of Raspberry Pi and make them.
That is so rad.
Yeah. So it was something that I was doing for a while, and I make little small hacking gadgets and stuff like that. Not for malicious use. For honestly, a lot of it is I used to train and talk to my. It was weird telling other people they're called users, but talking. I guess we'll call it clients, so it doesn't sound so weird. About just best security practices, or hey, look at this device. Do you see how it looks like it's mundane, doesn't do anything. Well, watch me put it on your computer. Here's what it does, and you see the cause and effects. Don't plug USBs into your computer. And that kind of stuff. So
ones that you don't know, at least, yeah.
yeah. And I started building these type of things to train, the people I work with, best practices for, cybersecurity and just security awareness in general when it comes to electronics.
Dude, that is so cool.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
It's funny because I've tried using Raspberry Pi to do stuff with my printers. And it's like watching me try to do that is like watching a kid that can't catch when you throw a baseball at him. It just stands there and it hits him in the face. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, "Doosh," and I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I've got these, not stop motion, the Minchin cameras that you can hook up to your printers to do the time lapse. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. And anyone listening to this is going to laugh and be like, and you print for a living? Because I can't even figure out how to hook those things up right now. And it's probably like the most simplistic thing in the world to hook them
Yeah.
up. And I mean, I'm also the idiot that like will go like grab the instruction manual and be like, okay, I think I got it, and then go try to do it. And
Dude, give me a call
Get
on
electrocuted.
Friday. I'll get on the thing with you. We'll figure it out.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me at least, like 3D printing has reinvigorated my love for so many aspects of gaming. Like being able to literally like imagine a world and then print it
Yeah.
is like the coolest freaking thing. And like being a Star Wars junkie like I am, and all the 8 billion pictures I've sent you of like the cantina, the turret that I was showing you earlier, and stuff like that. It's just blows my mind what we can do with technology nowadays. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can build like things that talk to computers, and I'm just
Thanks, man. No. And all your stuff is gorgeous though. Like my prints aren't nearly as good as yours. I've got this old crappy Ender 3. And watching your stuff, it's amazing. I think one of the cooler parts too is like having it, like you said, like I build stuff for my games. So like I have a whole setup for H2O Apocalypse that I'll bring to cons, and I've made dudes on, on hydro boards, and I made ships that that look like they're for that. And for me, doing that kind of helps me get into the mindset of the world.
yeah.
Like one of the things I'm most excited about is Neon Lords has a game coming out, Roller Brawl, and I can't wait to like kit bash like H2O Apocalypse characters for Roller Brawl. I mean, like I want to make like an H2O Apocalypse, like a band that is like a team. And
Nice.
I keep telling them it's my favorite game that isn't even out yet. It's waiting for it, I think, is the worst part. But things like that, like I love Gaslands, the game Gaslands, and I built H2O Apocalypse ships so I can play H2O Apocalypse in Gaslands.
Dude, that's so rad.
Thank you.
I feel like we should talk about H2O Apocalypse a little bit more.
Sure.
Because you just brought up something that you get to do in the game that you don't get to do in every game, which is make a band.
Yeah.
What can you tell folks that may not have picked up this killer zine yet about making a band in H2O Apocalypse?
Yeah, so if you haven't already guessed, you roll a lot of tables. So the whole idea is you build your character, and you roll to see what what instrument you have, and you pick basically you roll for everything, and then you kind of pick your captain of your ship if you want to. This could be the lead or someone else. But yeah, for the most part, you're literally just rolling on these tables and seeing what happens. Actually, do you want to roll right now? Let's see.
Absolutely. Let me grab.
Let's see what kind of. Well, you can roll for my name. We'll be a 2-man band. We'll be like.
I gotta grab my bag of dice without dumping a bunch of stuff on the computer. All right.
Like Tenacious D, but like still together. I think they're back together now. I hope they are.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna get here. Oh, it's funny because I was thinking Neon Lords, and I didn't grab my weird dice. I'm gonna grab my weird dice.
Oh man, if it's gonna be, you got it. You already got it, like right there.
I got my weird dice in hand. I saw the D7, and I was just like, uh-oh.
You gotta have those weird dice in hand.
So I'm going to let you walk me through the whole. I'm going to let the creator walk me through, and I will. You tell me what page to go to, and I'm there, even though I already.
So here's my thing. I don't even have my book ready. Let me pull it up here on the Googles.
The Googles.
The Googles. Pull up the backer copy. All right. All right. So let's just say you have all your stats down, because right now they don't matter. Can you go to page 10 for me?
You got it. I am there.
All right. So once you're at page 10, let's see what kind of instrument you have. So roll me a D6.
Right. D6. I got a 6, so I've got shells.
What's the deal with the shells?
What do you do with these shells?
He doesn't know what the shells are for. All right.
D7.
All right. So what's the name of the punk who plays these shells?
All right. We're going to see here. Otis Gunn.
That's a great name.
It is.
All right. So let's see what band Otis plays for.
All right. D7 again, right there. The Crushing Sharks.
That's awesome. And then what ship does Otis take the season?
All right. The Raging 40 Ounce.
There you go. There you go. And now one of the coolest parts I love about this is, was it, you ever play the game Dead Rising? You trapped in a mall. And
I have not played that.
You just put a bunch of weird stuff together and they make weapons. Well, that's kind of inspired like the weapon creation system in here. So your weapon is like a bunch of stuff just like smashed together. So, for instance, you can have nunchucks with an axe head on it that are covered in a flammable adhesive.
Whoa!
So you're wielding flammable axe nunchucks, or you can have a frisbee that has spearheads on it, and it has a rubber ducky somewhere on it as well. So you just hit a guy with the spears are sticking out of him. It's just quick,
I'm just looking at all the different choices here for the weapons. This is great. For anyone following along, it's on page 21.
Yeah, 21.
For the weapons. And then armor and guns are on 22 and 23, respectively. Dude, this is so great. And
Thank you.
Like, yeah, dude, you did a killer job with this. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what else you put out for this, because, yeah, it's something I've never seen. I feel like you see a lot of desert stuff. You've got Dark Sun, Duster, Seas of Sands, stuff like that. But you don't have many, like, for lack of a better term, water-worldy type worlds.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to get to see something that, one, like, is totally rad and kicks ass, and two, though, takes our imminent future and kind of just jams it in your face in a fun way to say, hey, guess what? Your grandkids are going to get to live this. It's like,
yeah.
But, and it's really cool, dude. You did a kick-ass job with this. So
thank you so much.
Is there anything that we haven't covered that we wanted to talk about?
You never asked me what a top 5. I was warned I was going to get a top 5.
Oh,
I was warned I was going to get a top 5. I've been waiting for it.
Top 5. Ooh. Top 5. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball because I don't want to do movies, books. All right. Your top 5 metal bands, metal or punk, that have influenced you the most. The top 5 most influential bands, we'll say, that have influenced you.
Oh, bands in general?
Of metal of like hard metal / punk. I know they don't necessarily fit, but they kind of do.
No, that's a great question. All right.
Well, I've got my top 5 like metal like punk bands that like made me anti-authoritarian.
I mean, I gotta throw Operation Ivy. It's like one of the. It honestly, I think as far as like, like just the whole ska punk third wave genre, like kind of really put me into it. I think hearing like just how like that that album, like just how raw the Warning, and just how raw it felt. Right, it was just it was awesome. So Operation Ivy is definitely there.
I spaced on Operation Ivy when I was trying to think about this list of like, so Operation Ivy is number 5 for you, or are we going to go in order?
It might be number 1, if I'm honest.
Might be number 1.
Huge Ivy fan.
We'll go from 1 to 5. Let's do 1 to 5.
Let me think. All right. I mean, Agent Orange is definitely on the list for sure. The Mummies. Yeah, I absolutely am enamored with the Mummies. Who else would be on there?
Gosh, so many. Minor Threat.
Minor Threat is Minor Threat. Yeah, Minor Threat's there for sure. They're the same vein. Actually, I'm gonna have to bust out some Fugazi.
Nice.
Yeah. And then weird one, out of left field, Cadet for Life, the Aquabats. We have to say the Aquabats.
Nice.
Nice, I mean, I know like in a hard metal punk list, perhaps it's gonna be a weird one, but I love them, and I think some of the attitude, that Saturday morning attitude has definitely found its way into my zine. So
nice. For me, my number 5 of what I'm going to go backwards. You went 1 to 5. I'll go 5. I'll bring it backwards. Number 5 for me was actually, and I'm realizing I'm more of a metalhead than a punk guy, but was Sepultura.
Oh yeah.
Just because I just loved them. 4 for me was a tie. It was a flip flop between 4 and 3. So 4 was Black Flag and 3 was the Misfits.
Oh, I do love the Misfits. Yeah.
And number 2 is a band that not a lot of people have heard of, and their debut album had a rather problematic cover, but I love their music. My boy Ogre tears it up in there, but it's Nail Bomb.
Okay.
Have you ever listened to them?
No.
You should check them out. Just ignore the cover of their first album. It's kind of like traumatizing. I wouldn't say traumatizing. Someone's going to listen to this and be like, what the hell does he mean traumatizing? It's like, it is definitely a whoa moment when you look at that cover. Yeah. But number 1 for me was Minor Threat, because I'm Seeing Red was like my anthem for years of just red. I'm seeing red, because I used to have a lot of like anger issues. And it's funny to look back at it, and now I'm just a mellow, chunky old 50-year-old guy. Oh shoot. Well, we got the top 5. We've talked H2O Apocalypse. We talked Crimson Adder Curiosities.
Yeah, man.
What have we missed? I still feel like we're missing something.
Yeah, I don't know.
We may have hit all the bases. I mean, the last hour flew by, so that could just be all it is.
It really did. I know. I feel like feel like we're pretty good.
Well, cool. Well,
I mean,
dude, I would love to do this again.
Yeah, man.
I can ramble and ramble and ramble.
I know.
The only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to wind up like talking way too much about 3D printing if we stay on here, and I don't really have anything other than this really cool Imperial Terrain turret that I can show everybody that I printed. But this thing is huge.
Really cool.
And this is only like half of it. It's got another piece that goes under it to make it like super huge. It's an orbital defense cannon that you can use while you're playing Star Wars Legion. And if you so happen to like it, you can pick it up at gameswithdave.com.
Hell yeah.
So before we go, that's actually one thing I would like to do is let you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can pick up H2O Apocalypse, and where they can keep their fingers on the pulse of everything Josh Yoder and Crimson Adder Curiosities.
Yeah, you can find me on my Patreon. Links are down below. Patreon.com, see Crimson Adder Curiosities. You can buy H2O Apocalypse on Goodman Games web store, as well as Exalted Funerals web store. If you go to my Patreon, all my other linked tree links are there. And as far as cons go, you can always catch me at PAX Unplugged. That's my home turf. I think the only other con I have currently planned is going to be a Relaxicon, just like a local con in Glen Mills, PA, coming up soon. Yeah, pretty excited about that. I'll be running some DCC there, some Croaking Fane. I love frogs. I know this is kind of digressing because it's supposed to be a closeout. But have you seen Frogman?
No. I'm going to write this down because
one of my top movies of last year. Go check out Frogman. It's wild.
And you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to print you a bunch of little frog people because I can't think of what they're called. Like they're like former D&D name. Yes.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole slew of like swamp creatures with them being like the primary creature there. So I'll have to print you some and send them to you to paint. Oh, you're welcome.
I'll paint them up real nice too.
Nice.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. It's really dope. I don't know where I got off on that tangent, but yeah, so
Frogman. I know what I'm watching the rest of the night because I got to go check the printers when we get off of here, and then I think I'm going to relax with a can of Monster and Frogman and prepare for an all-nighter of listing products.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I would love to have you back on the next time, like when you get the module and everything written for H2O Apocalypse and anything else you got going on. Even if it's just to shoot the shit and have fun again, because I've totally enjoyed this and it's been a hoot. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks. Josh, thanks for coming on. And we will catch you next time, party people. If you enjoyed this interview, give it a like, maybe leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And be sure to check out and sign up for Josh's Patreon and go buy H2O Apocalypse because it kicks ass. Other than that, have a great night.